Hi guys, well today we're going to be upgrading our video editing PC, the machine which is responsible for rendering out all of our content on YouTube. Now since we shoot in 4K, the components that we require for this build need to be able to sustain heavy workloads. Now in the past we've used Intel Skylake and we've even stepped up to Intel's high-end desktop platform, but we figured it would be really interesting to switch things over to AMD and show you guys what we're going to be using in such a rig as we tap into AMD's excellent price to performance Ryzen platform. Now Intel Skylake X and X299 was something we were going to consider, but after weighing up the cost against the performance, there is no way that we were going to go down that route. Where it once was clear cut to basic configuration around Intel, especially when we're talking intense workloads, things have really altered in the last 6 months, and even if AMD doesn't tickle your fancy, the results are undeniable. And well, with the red team now back in the picture, you've got to admit, for everyone involved, the competition has rejuvenated what was once quite a lackluster affair. Right guys, well first of all let's do a quick rundown of the components that are going into this build, and then once we've done that we'll get things installed and reveal the finished product. So the CPU that we've gone with is the AMD Ryzen 7 1800X. Now this is the top model in the stack, but if you compare the 1800X to the cheaper 1700X and even the 1700, then you'll notice the only difference there is the clock speed. And so the CPU cores, the threads, the cache and all the rest are exactly the same. What you're getting in the 1800X is a faster chip straight out of the box. So if you do want to save yourself a bit of cash and you're happy there to overclock, then going for the 1700 would be a really good move. And it's worth noting that all of the Ryzen 7 chips are unlocked, even those that are without the X in the name. And so right now the 1800X is £400 in the UK and $429 in the US. And against an Intel equivalent you'd be looking at up to double that amount. Keeping that Ryzen 7 nice and cool, we're going to be using the NZXT Kraken X62, which is a 280mm liquid cooler. So this here is the top model in NZXT's lineup, and it features a new pump and the ARP radiator fans. So this will keep the temperatures down and also allow us to apply a decent overclock. Not to mention, we can also tweak the RGB lighting there to our own preference, and then fine tune the speed of the fans in the CAM software to our own requirements. And so the Kraken X62 is priced at $140 in the UK and $200 in the US. And that Ryzen CPU is going to be sitting on the Aorus AX370 Gaming K7 motherboard. Tony's actually already reviewed this board over on Vortex.net, and it's one of our top picks among the 10 boards that we've tested to date. First of all, just to look at it, it is a stunning piece of kit that is very pleasing to the eye, and it has the option there to add in a bit of colour with the RGB lighting. The K7 is also one of the few boards which offers up to 4 USB 3.1 Gen 2 ports, others just have the one. And across the board there are lots of fan headers, which is something that you can never have enough of. And the design of this board also lends itself to being very good at overclocking, so we can easily nudge up the frequency of our AMD chip to get even more performance gains. Pricing at the moment on the K7 is $217 in the UK and $209 in the US. Turning to the memory, we're going to be using a kit which we've used in the past. This is the Corsair Vengeance LED. This is a 32GB kit and it operates at 3200 MHz. Now this kit isn't on the qualified vendors list for the board that we're using, but hopefully it'll be fine. However, if it isn't, we do have some other kits available. What is really important in the memory department is that we've got that 32GB of capacity, as it will vastly help in our editing requirements. Now this DDR4 kit isn't cheap at £290 and the same in dollars, but again the spec of the memory is needful given the intended use, and any kit which offers 32GB will have that listing price of $250 and above. For the graphics card, we've gone with the renowned GTX 1080 Ti, courtesy of Aorus, and their rather exciting Extreme model. Now the graphics card is fundamental in this machine, as it'll play a very important role there in assisting the CPU when we're inside our video editing software, handling huge files, applying effects, and rendering out that finished piece. Not to mention we'll also be jumping into the odd game here and there, and so a high-end unit is very useful. The 1080 Ti is the ideal candidate for this job, as it has an astounding 3584 CUDA cores, which are all utilized when we're encoding video. This Extreme here also features a substantial overclock to the GPU and the memory, so once again this will be to our advantage. Now this card isn't cheap. You're looking at $769 in the UK and anywhere between $800 and $1,000 in the US. Another key part of this build is storage. We've gone with a combo here using the Samsung 960 Pro and the Samsung 840 EVO. The 512GB 960 Pro will feature as the primary drive there, giving us that fast PCI Express NVMe technology with transfer rates which are way beyond that of any SATA-based SSD. Pricing on the 960 Pro is $289 in the UK and $299 in the US. So that drive there is going to host Windows 10 and all of our applications. And then for the bulk of the storage, the 1TB 840 EVO will be ideal, as that can accommodate things like games. It may only offer 550 meg transfer rates, but that is perfect for gaming and it offers us the reliability there of solid state. Now the 850 has been replaced by the 840, pricing for a 1TB unit is $299 in the UK and $350 in the US. And powering all of this excellent kit is the Superflower LED-X Gold 650W power supply. Now Superflower may not be a name that you've heard of before, but they've been around since the early 90s, and serious power supply reviewers like Johnny Guru rate these units as some of the best that they've tested. So this has great ripple control, stability, uses a semi-passive fan mode, and is also modular so we can keep things nice and tidy. In terms of the pricing, this Superflower unit is $100 in the UK, and I wasn't able to find any US pricing on this, perhaps due to the availability. Okay, and last of all, we're going to be housing all of our hardware inside the Phanteks Evolve ATX, and that is in the gunmetal finish. And the decision to go with the Evolve was really down to a number of reasons. First of all, I'm sure you'll agree, it looks amazing. The clean design and the shape of this case is something that we're pretty fond of. Secondly, it has all the space that we need and will allow us to attach the Kraken X62 and all of the other parts in a kind of toolless type of manner, making the installation nice and easy. And then of course we have that large window so we can admire the configuration when it is complete. And so Evolve ATX in gunmetal is $135 in the UK and then around $160 in the US. So that is all the kit that we're going to be using in this machine, and that should offer us an excellent platform there for video editing. All of the hardware is from reputable brands, all of which we've reviewed and tested in the past, so we can vouch for the quality. We'll be leaving the full spec in the description of this video for those who are interested, and we'll also list there a place to buy. So all that's left to do now is to install all of this great kit into our chassis, so here is a quick time lapse of the building process. So that is our new AMD Ryzen build complete. There are a few little things which kind of caught me off guard during the install process. The Kraken cooler, for example, up at the top is absolutely massive, and it completely engulfs the upper section of the board. And so some of the headers, some of the buttons aren't quite accessible. However, we do have that removable tray up at the top there, which kind of slides out and allows you to connect any cables if you need to. The pump header on the K7 board is actually located at the very bottom, and the cable from the Kraken cooler isn't quite long enough, so another little stumbling block there. And also another thing is the M.2 is underneath the graphics card, which isn't the best spot, but you know, we've got some strong airflow in this case, and we should be able to keep those temperatures under control. But you know, overall I'm very happy with the general look of this machine. The case gives a very nice, clean and tidy aesthetic while clutching onto plenty of style. With cable management, the main objective is of course to keep those wires out of sight as best as possible, and you can see that we've been able to achieve a good level of control over the cables, which can be at times quite wild. So far as the construction of the kit goes, the theme, again, you know, everything coordinates very well together, nothing kind of looks out of place, and all the hardware there blends together very well indeed. The board, the GPU and the CPU cooler, they've all got that RGB lighting, so you know, applying a coloured scheme shouldn't be too difficult at all. Or we can even cycle through a spectrum of different tones to inject a bit of ambience. As I mentioned at the outset, this PC here is going to be handling all of our editing and rendering all of our content creation, and you know, there's no doubts, there's no reservations whatsoever as to the capabilities of this configuration here. It has ample horsepower. And so the total cost of this machine here is going to be around about 2,700 sterling, $2,900. Had we gone down Intel's route with the X299, we'd be looking at something close to around the 4K mark. You know, given the fact that we've got more expensive CPUs, more expensive boards, and of course the necessity there for quad channel DDR4. So guys, what do you think of this build here? Would you have done anything slightly different? Let me know what you think in the comments box below. Please hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you guys next time.